In the mid-1990s, a former intelligence officer suddenly lost his job. With two young daughters to feed, he seriously considered one option to survive: driving a taxi through the streets of his own city. That man would go on to lead Russia for longer than almost anyone since Stalin. This is Vladimir Putin's road to the throne. Vladimir Putin spent about 16 years as an officer of the KGB, the Soviet Union feared intelligence agency, most of it stationed in Leningrad, with roughly 5 years in Dresden, East Germany. He never rose to the top ranks. He wasn't a celebrated spy master. He was a mid-level officer, quietly identifying foreign contacts of interest, doing the invisible, procedural work of intelligence. Then in 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. In 1991, the Soviet Union itself collapsed, and the entire system Putin had built his career inside of simply stopped existing. Imagine dedicating a decade and a half to an institution, a country, an identity, and then watching it dissolve. Putin retired from the KGB in 1990 to 1991 and returned to Leningrad, now renamed St. Petersburg, taking a position working for Anatoly Sobchak, the city's new reformist mayor, handling foreign relations. It was a real job, and for a few years his rise was steady. By 1994, he'd become first deputy mayor. But in 1996, when Sobchak lost his re-election bid, Putin lost his position along with him, and for the first time since leaving the KGB, his future was genuinely uncertain. Russia at the time was in economic freefall. Millions of people, doctors, engineers, former Soviet officials were reduced to selling goods on the street or moonlighting as unlicensed drivers just to survive. Putin has since said in a 2018 documentary that around this moment he thought seriously about earning extra money as a private driver, ferrying people through the city because, in his words, I had two small children and needed a way to provide. A former intelligence officer, once trained to operate in the shadows of global power, reduced to weighing whether he'd need to drive a cab to feed his family. He didn't end up behind that wheel. Instead, he leaned on the administrative and loyalty skills his KGB years had sharpened: discipline, discretion, and ability to be useful to powerful people without drawing attention to himself. He moved to Moscow in 1996 and began climbing the federal bureaucracy, a Kremlin property management role, then the domestic security service, then in 1999, Prime Minister, a position he'd held for less than a year before President Boris Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned and handed him the presidency on the very first day of the year 2000. From a man wondering how he'd pay for his children's needs to the most powerful office in the largest country on earth in under 4 years. Here's what this story teaches us, again separate from any judgment of the man's politics. The skills you build during your quiet, unglamorous seasons rarely go to waste. Putin's years as an unremarkable bureaucrat doing invisible loyalty work for other men's careers are exactly what made him safe and useful enough to be handed power when the opportunity came. When your seasons look like survival, like wondering how you'll make ends meet, it can still be preparation. The discipline you're building in the background doesn't appear, it waits for its moment. If you feel like you're just getting by right now, remember some of history's most powerful people were at their lowest point one bad month away from driving a taxi. Because every throne has a story before the crown, and somewhere out there, yours is still being written. If this moved you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on notification, because on Road to Fame, we don't just watch history, we walk the road to it. We've now covered 2 roads to power, 13 more are coming, and next we'll be talking about a Nigerian president who rose from nothing to become the president. Tell us in the comments which president you would like us to talk about in this series.